Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Carving It Up Live right here on Facebook Live, YouTube, and on Twitter. As always, I'm Bryson Carver, and we have got an absolutely, positively packed show for y'all tonight. I will say, first of all, today is not a live show. It's been pre-recorded earlier on this beautiful Thursday. However, as I always say, anytime I do a non-live show, if something big has happened in sports, either before 6 p.m. Eastern or during the show, I am aware, just not at the time that you're watching me, of course. But we've got a great show lined up. Some more questionable at best leadership by Aaron Rodgers. I'll get into that in regards to him pretty much, trashing his receivers after a practice. Baker Mayfield reportedly is going to win the starting job for the Carolina Panthers. I'll tell you what that means for him, for Matt Rule, for the Panthers organization. Antonio Brown's going at Tom Brady. That's the last guy AB should be going at, but he's going at him. I'll discuss that at the end of the show, as well as Tiger Woods calling a meeting with the PGA. I have got a lot to say about that. But first, before we get into our leading topic, two quick things I want to address. The most important thing first, happy birthday to my sister, Chloe. Shout out to her. She's been the best. So I hope that, Chloe, this is a great day for you. Looking forward to celebrating it with you today. And hey, let this year top the ones before it. And then second of all, I just wanted to say to the Carving It Up fans, thank you, because we have reached 100 subscribers. Man, this is exciting, right? I mean, listen, it took us a while to get here, but since this show started on YouTube, I should say, in late January, the support has meant everything. Right? If the people that have taken the time out of their day to hit that big red subscribe button and help the channel grow exponentially, as I always say at the end of every show, thank you. Right? That this show would not be where it is without y'all especially getting in the comment section, bringing up new topics, even starting whole new segments on this show before in the comment section, commenting on videos, sharing videos, social media. You see, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the my social media platforms, retweets and likes and comments and everything, sharing on your Instagram stories. Everything to this point has meant so much. And again, I will reiterate, the show would not be where it is without you, the listener. So let's keep this subscriber count going up. If you know anybody who's a sports fan, if you know anybody who likes podcasts, just share the show and tell them to hit that big red subscribe button. So thank you so much to everybody out there who supported the show over the past year and a half, gotten us to 100 subscribers, and we will try to continue to up that total. Now, time to get to work. Let's talk about LeBron James. Yesterday, biggest news of the NBA yesterday was actually not the schedule release, although, like I said on Monday, I am a nerd for the schedule release, and I'm proud to say it. I love it. But LeBron James yesterday signed a 2-year, $97.5 million extension to stay with the Los Angeles Lakers through the 2025 season. Now, first of all, the second year on that 2-year contract is a player option. So LeBron can opt into that second year of his deal, or he can become a free agent in 2024. But it ensures LeBron will at least be in Los Angeles for the next 2 seasons. Of course, I remember talking about this, I think it was last Friday, about how this could, this could possibly cause some chaos, even more chaos, I should say, for an already chaotic Lakers organization. Shout out to the Chaotic Sports Podcast, my man Patrick Brown. Keep doing your thing, man. But that you've got the Westbrook stuff. Darvin Ham's a first-year coach. Rob Pelinka, who knows what he's doing, right? And then looming over all of that, Anthony Davis can't stay healthy. Looming over all of this is the fact that, oh, shoot, LeBron might leave next year. He's a free agent. He can go anywhere he wants in 2023. And I said on this show, in discussing this, LeBron's playing his cards right. He's waiting to see what the Lakers are going to do. He's putting pressure on the front office to acquire Kyrie Irving and other pieces. The Kyrie thing, I don't get for the life of me. If it's just to dump Westbrook, you can dump him a lot of places without bringing in another problem. That's another topic for another day. But LeBron staying in LA, what does it mean for the Lakers? Well, it means they'll at least be relevant for the next 2, possibly 3 years. Right? Because if LeBron leaves, this organization is going to go right back to where they were post-Kobe retirement. Even Kobe's last 2 years with the Lakers, which is one of the 5 worst teams in basketball. Because you can't trust Anthony Davis to give you 60 games minimum, or max, I should say. Russell Westbrook is going to be gone. either this season or next year in the offseason when he becomes a free agent. You're not deep. You don't have draft picks. They haven't had a tendency. The Lakers have actually drafted very well. I've always said in the show. I mean, look at guys like they've taken D'Angelo Russell. They've taken Julius Randle. Brandon Ingram's probably been their best pick over the last 5, 6, 7 years, right? They've taken Kyle Kuzma in the second round in 2017. They've taken some nice players. Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart. They just can't develop them. All of those guys have went elsewhere. Some of them have made all-star games. Some of them have won. Julius Randle won most improved player. Brandon Ingram is on his way, man, to becoming a superstar. You look at how he's improved every year, especially in New Orleans. So the Lakers are stuck. Add to it that Jeannie Buss does not know who to trust in the Lakers front office. And I've been saying this for a year. I was ahead of the curve on this with Jeannie. I think she's a good owner. She's a heck of a lot better than her brother, Jim. Jim didn't know what the heck he was doing. But Jeannie trusts Jeannie, she has the self-awareness to say, and she has said on multiple occasions, I don't have the basketball acumen, the basketball IQ, if you will, to run a franchise, to make the basketball decisions, which I respect her because there's an owner in Dallas who owns a football team who won't do the same. But the problem with Jeannie is she's trusting the wrong people. She's trusting the Rambuses. She's trusting Rob Pelinka. She's trusting Phil Jackson, who ran the Knicks into the ground even further than they already have been run into the ground by James Dolan. That's why Jeannie, about a month ago, and I talked about it on the show, sent out that tweet saying, man, I miss Kobe. He would know what to do in these situations. Right? Kobe would be the voice of reason. You had the whole fiasco with Magic Johnson a few years ago and his tumultuous relationship with Rob Pelinka that forced Magic out of the Los Angeles. You had the aftermath of that. Somehow, within all this chaos, the Los Angeles Lakers won the NBA championship in 2020. Right? So props to them for doing that. Props to the great LeBron James and props to Anthony Davis for staying healthy and for that Lakers team that played great together. But those days are over. They are not competing, especially in the Western Conference, which is going to be better than it was a year ago. Golden State, the defending champions, the 2022 NBA champions, in case you have not heard, they're going to be back healthy, ready to go, better, considering the growth of the young players and the additions they made in free agency. Memphis is going to be better. They're young. That they went from 8 seed to 2 seed in 1 year. They're going to be better next year. Phoenix may not be better. They'll kind of be the same, but even if they're the same, they did win, 64 games last year? Phoenix isn't going anywhere, right? You have the Clippers coming back with a healthy Kawhi Leonard and a healthy Paul George. I read today that Kawhi Leonard's reportedly looking phenomenal right now. He'll be ready to go full speed ahead next year, especially with the addition of John Wall and the depth that they have and Ty Lue running the operations as the head coach. The Western Conference is no joke, man. Dallas got better in the offseason with the addition of Christian Wood. Luka's a year older. Luka's in shape this go-around. Denver's bringing people back. All of these teams are going to be better in the Western Conference. The Lakers will be better. I anticipate they'll win more than 33 games this year, but they still got Russell Westbrook, and if they don't have Russ, they'll probably end up with Kyrie Irving, who's head and shoulders, better than Russell Westbrook. Problem is, he's less available than Anthony Davis is, and it's not just for injury purposes. And he's one of the worst teammates in the league. So I always say, if I'm on the fringe, if I'm kind of on the bubble with you as a potential championship contending team, if I have more questions than answers about you, I can't call you championship team. I said that all last season, at least the second half of last season with the Brooklyn Nets. I said, I don't know what they are. I know they're ridiculously talented. They've got the great Kevin Durant and the great Kyrie Irving. But they're not deep. They're not good defensively. They're not well coached. There's no clear-cut leader in that locker room. You don't know who's taking the last shot at the end. They're going to be a lower seed. They don't even have a home court advantage. No shot at Brooklyn fans, but geez, man, apparently a Nets fan, the Nets have a smaller fan base than the Clippers. And what happened to the Nets? They got swept in the first round. My expectations for the Lakers this year: LeBron's going to be great. Anthony Davis is going to give them 50, 55 games. He'll be good when he plays. Russell Westbrook will be gone by the trade deadline. Darvin Ham will do whatever he can. Again, I liked the hiring Darvin Ham. I did. But he doesn't have a whole lot to work with here. And they'll win 42 games. They'll win 42 games. They'll be in the play-in tournament, and it's a coin flip as to whether they'll get in the playoffs. And if they do, they'll get bounced by Golden State or Memphis or the Clippers or one of the top seeds in the Western Conference. But it is good news that LeBron's going to be around for a while. I also think, too, the second year of his contract, the player option, is interesting because, and I think it centers around one person and one person only, and that's Bronny. LeBron's oldest son, and LeBron's been very vocal for a while now. He wants to play with Bronny once he comes to the league. Whoever Bronny gets drafted by, that's where LeBron's going. So unless in the crazy set of events that Bronny gets drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers, and LeBron would opt into that last year of his deal, the opt-in year, 2024 through 25 season for LeBron, that's when Bronny would likely come into the NBA because he's a senior in high school this year. He'll play college basketball next year, and then he'll be ready to go in the NBA. So LeBron would likely opt out of that and go wherever Bronny ends up, probably Oklahoma City or Orlando or somebody, but at least be interesting. So good for LeBron. I read today that he is now the highest earning player in NBA history. I think it was like $532 million in the NBA, and that's just NBA money. Okay, don't forget LeBron's lifetime contract with Nike, all the other business endeavors he's bought into the Fenway Sports Group that owns the Boston Red Sox. I think he owns a share in Manchester United. I mean, he's the ultimate businessman. And that's something else too, why LeBron stayed in LA. And I brought this up a couple weeks ago. Being in Los Angeles has doubled LeBron's net worth. So if you are rich, great at what you do, successful, LA's the city for you. And LeBron knows that. And LeBron knows the connections that he has in Los Angeles that he's not probably going to have in, say, what he had in Cleveland or even in Miami, which is a big market. It's not LA. It's the entertainment capital of the world. He's taking advantage of that. Good for LeBron, good for the Lakers. And so we'll see. Okay. Wow. All righty. So we have some major breaking news. Hold on. Let me make sure I get this ready to go. This is wow. Okay, we have a major development in the Deshaun Watson saga. According to Jake Trotter, it says breaking news. It's a tweet from him. This just came in 2 minutes ago. The NFL and NFLPA have agreed to a settlement on discipline for Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson, who will serve an 11-game suspension and pay a $5 million fine for violating the league's personal conduct policy per league source. Okay. So that is the end, it looks like, of the whole Deshaun Watson saga. So Deshaun Watson will serve an 11-game suspension this year. The NFL and the Players Association have come to an agreement. Watson, again, will be fined $5 million. Initially, when the ruling came down from Judge Sue Robinson, right, she didn't fine him at all when she handed down the 6-game suspension. Okay, so essentially, this is going to be obviously over half of the season. So 11 games for the Cleveland Browns. So when would Deshaun come back? Let's see. I'm pulling up the Browns schedule now. This just came in. Obviously, as you guys are watching this happened hours ago. But this is coming in at the time that I'm recording now. Hold on. Looking for the Browns. Okay. So first 11 games. 1, 2, 3. That's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. Wow. The first game, Deshaun Watson, is that right? Yes, the first game Deshaun Watson would come back is against the Houston Texans, where he used to play. Wow, that is interesting. And they would go, so the Browns would face Houston on the road, go to Cincinnati to play the Bengals, come back home to play the Ravens, play on Christmas Eve against the Saints at home, go to Washington to play the Commanders, and then go to Pittsburgh to play the Steelers. So definitely not an easy closing stretch by any means necessary, any stretch of the imagination. So Deshaun Watson is going to play this season. It looks like he will not be suspended for the season, but he will be suspended longer than the 6 games. So essentially the NFL and the Players Association are kind of compromising a little bit, right? Because the Players Association feels like, hey, and I've detailed this, what some in the Players Association, what some of the higher ups have said. Time out. Why are you going to punish Deshaun harshly for something that you have not punished the NFL owners who have committed not 30 allegations of sexual assault? So it's still not that comparable, but still, people in the NFL Players Association have said, time out, owners have done some shady business in regards to things similar to what Deshaun has done, and you haven't given them much of a punishment. And then, so the NFL's come back and said, okay. And so it looks like they've come to a compromise. Deshaun Watson will be suspended for 11 games of the 2022 NFL season. Again, I will reiterate what I've said for a while now, that if I were the commissioner, if I had the ultimate power, I would have suspended Deshaun Watson for the entire season, for the simple fact that you get to bring it, you have more time to bring in more information, more facts, the investigation continues, and that this isn't what I said, the dark cloud that hangs over the NFL season. Because the NFL now is dreading, is it week 13, I guess, week 13 of the season when Deshaun comes back. And again, and I actually read a week or two ago that the NFL, the one game they did not want Deshaun Watson to play was in Houston. And that is going to be his first game back. So that is a very, very interesting turn of events. Deshaun Watson will be suspended 11 games rather than 6. So they almost doubled his suspension, but it will not be for the season. He will be fined $5 million. So for Cleveland, now they're saying, so my suggestion, the whole Jimmy Garoppolo trade, that's definitely not going to happen now. They're going to roll with Jacoby Brissett for the first 11, see if they can keep themselves in playoff contention, and see if Deshaun Watson can carry them to the end. Again, I reiterate my stance that, and we saw how Deshaun looked in that first preseason game. He was off, and that's to be expected. The man hasn't played football in over a year and a half. So he'd be coming back in late November, early December. So that would be almost 2 years in between his last NFL game was played January 3rd of 2021. So it will have been almost 2 years since Deshaun Watson played a football game. But yeah, this is a huge development. Like I said, obviously, as you guys are watching this happened hours ago at the time y'all are watching, but this just broke a few minutes ago at the time that I'm recording. So one last time, Deshaun Watson will be suspended for 11 games after the NFL and the Players Association came to an agreement, came to a compromise, and he will be fined $5 million. So there you go. And I'll have more reaction on this tomorrow as we get more and more information. More comes out about this, but that is what we know right now. So, yeah, there you go. And that, it's okay. So Deshaun will be back this season. Very, very interesting. And again, of all the games he had to come back, it's against the Houston Texans. Two dysfunctional franchises. It's only fitting. All right. Try to move on from that. And I guess it's fitting. We go from one controversy involving Deshaun to another involving the LIV Golf Tour. And on Tuesday, a couple of days ago, Tiger Woods held a meeting with the PGA. Essentially, how do we combat, the objective of the meeting is how do we combat the LIV Golf Tour? Of course, again, the Saudi-backed tour, I'm sure y'all know about this. Numerous golfers in the PGA have left, starting with Phil Mickelson. You got guys, Bubba Watson, Bryson DeChambeau, some of the best golfers in the world who have joined this LIV Golf Tour because it's in large part because it's paying a heck of a lot more than the PGA is paying. And of course, it's been a controversial topic because it is backed by Saudi Arabia. And Tiger Woods reportedly was offered $500 million to join this golf tour, and he turned it down. And he has been a big proponent against the LIV Golf Tour. He's spoken out against it numerous times, and reportedly, again, he held a meeting with the PGA as to basically how to combat the LIV Golf Tour, how to make the PGA better. I have two reactions from this, two primary reactions. And this is, by the way, this is one of the shows I wish I was doing live because I would love to engage with y'all in the comments and hear what y'all have to think as I'm talking about this. But first of all, Tiger holding this meeting tells me that the LIV Golf Tour is doing exactly what it was intended to do. Give what is, I would not call a dying sport or the PGA dying. I would not call it that, but it is not as popular as it used to be. It is declining in popularity. And so the LIV Golf Tour is shaking things up a little bit. They're giving them needed competition because let's be real, the PGA has not reached the level even close to that of the NFL, Major League Baseball, the NBA, the NHL, not even in the same galaxy. Even college sports. You know, you got, I mean, you think about this too, like with the NFL or with football more specifically. Okay. We've got the NFL and you've got the USFL, right? Remember the USFL, that spring league that just concluded a couple months ago, right? It was fun. It was some football in the spring. And then, next year, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's got the XFL coming out. Looking forward to that. It's going to be, I'm sure, exciting to watch. But those leagues know, and obviously the NFL knows, that is not, those leagues are not competing with the NFL. It's not even close. The NFL is not just the king of sports, it's the king of television. We see what the incredible ratings are every single year. Again, like I said, 91 of the top 100 TV broadcasts last year were NFL games. Not sports broadcast, TV broadcast. That's how popular the NFL is. They have no competition. They don't need competition. NBA, same thing. We've got the G League. We've got college basketball. March Madness gets, phenomenal ratings every year. But nobody looks at any of those avenues as something that can compete with the National Basketball Association. They are established. They are rock solid. We know what the NBA is. Even Major League Baseball, if there was to be, say, a popular winter league that began, say, the season started right after the World Series, so like mid-November, like around Thanksgiving, and it concluded right around the time spring training started in mid to late February. We'd watch. It's baseball. It's pro players, but nobody thinks it's going to usurp Major League Baseball. It's just not. Major League Baseball is an established brand. They don't need competition. Okay, they're fine where they're at. Same with the NHL. PGA is a little different. Ever since, it's ironic that Tiger was the one who held this meeting. Ever since sort of the fall of Tiger Woods around like 2009, 2010, golf has plummeted in popularity. Yes, there's plenty of entertaining golfers. There's plenty of guys who you want to watch, especially on Sunday at these big major tournaments. But Tiger was the ratings for a while. It's kind of like Michael was the ratings for the NBA in the 90s. And once Michael left, up until like the Shaq, Kobe, Lakers, and LeBron coming into the league, like around that same time, the NBA ratings absolutely nosedive after Michael retired. Kind of the same thing with the PGA. Problem with the PGA is they don't have a Kobe Bryant, a guy who will get you to your TV like Kobe could, and they darn sure don't have a LeBron James who could get you to a TV like LeBron can. And so it has declined in popularity. So the LIV Golf Tour comes in, takes a few of the higher profile PGA golfers. Keep in mind too, the LIV golfers can still compete in tournaments like the US Open, the Masters, the big golf, the ones that we actually watch on TV. The vast majority of people, especially the casual golf fans, I consider myself a casual golf fan, don't watch every single tournament every single weekend. The vast majority, people tune in for Augusta. People tune in for the US Open, for these big major tournaments. So the LIV golfers who came for the PGA, they can't compete in sort of the mid-level, if you will. That's fine. Nobody watches those to begin with. But they can compete in the big ones that everybody watches every year. Something else too. And this is kind of what bothers me about this whole situation. I've said it from the beginning, okay? Saudi Arabia is the United States' number 2 trade partner, okay? And we know all the complications behind that is that the FBI widely believes that Saudi Arabia helped fund the operation of 9/11, the attacks of September 11th. They helped Al-Qaeda. Okay, so that's sort of the controversy that's involved in all of this. What I will say is this. Do I get why some PGA golfers would not want to go to LIV Golf Tour? Of course. Absolutely. But here's the thing. If I'm a golfer or if I'm a fan, I am not going to hold individual golfers to a higher standard in regards to dealing with the Saudis that the United States government is, or that some of these big corporations are. Corporations that are involved with Saudi Arabia. Bank of America, AT&T, Exxon, Coca-Cola, Starbucks, Uber, etc. I'm not going to hold Bubba Watson, Phil Mickelson, Bryson DeChambeau to a higher standard than those 6 companies and others that do business with Saudi Arabia. Now, darn sure not going to hold them to a higher standard than our own government. That is where I have an issue. Because if we're going to, listen, if you're somebody that criticizes these golfers as well as corporations that do business with Saudi Arabia and our U.S. government, got nothing to say. You got me. You're consistent. Gotcha. But to everybody else who has, just ripped these golfers, first of all, they're saying, okay, the PGA is plummeting in popularity. The LIV Golf Tour is popular. They can pay me more. That's where they're coming at it from. The PGA isn't compensating me the way that I think I should be compensated. LIV Golf Tour is. PGA Tour is declining in popularity. LIV Golf Tour is inclining in popularity. It's business. Same way that these companies think of it. It's business. I thought this was a capitalist country. I am an adamant capitalist myself. Sure, a lot of you are. That's how it works. That's how business works. So again, I'm not going to criticize the LIV Golf Tour golfers who came from the PGA Tour if I'm not going to criticize our government or these major corporations that are involved with the LIV Golf Tour. I always say, be consistent, keep that same energy. If someone does one thing, we're bad about this in politics, okay? We get mad at one side for doing something, but when the other side does it, we don't say anything. And this goes for both sides, by the way. Like, let's be consistent on this. I'm not going to criticize athletes before I criticize those in our government and before I criticize these major corporations. It's business. So, again, Tiger holding this meeting proves that the LIV Golf Tour is doing its job the way it needs to be doing its job. It is competition for the PGA Tour. It will hopefully make the PGA Tour better, and who knows? Maybe if the PGA Tour inclines in popularity, LIV golfers will come back to the PGA, and the PGA can continue to ascend amongst these great sports businesses and corporations. But as it stands now, the PGA needed this competition. It needed it. Nobody was watching these major tournaments. Now there's a little bit of interest. Mission accomplished. So we'll see what it plays out from here. But again, I'm not going to hold athletes, golfers, I'm not going to hold them to a higher standard than those who, literally run the country. Not going to do it. All right, now moving on. Like I said, I wish the show was live today because I would love to hear what y'all have to say in the comments, because again, it is a controversial issue, and rightfully so. It's highly debatable. We've discussed it for, I guess this has been a topic for about 2 months now. I remember it kind of first coming up like during the NBA Finals, so it's been about 2 months. So it's a topic of discussion without a question. But let me get a drink of water for this one. Moving on to Aaron Rodgers. So I've said all offseason that the Packers are not going to make the playoffs this season. And the number one reason I've said that is because in a league that values quarterbacks and receivers more than it ever has, the Cincinnati Bengals had the worst offensive line in the league and got to the Super Bowl. Why? Elite top 5 quarterback and elite skill position players. Green Bay obviously has an elite quarterback. Their skill position group is bottom 5 in the league. Matter of fact, I'd say bottom 3 in the league. It's down there with like New England. It's terrible. So a few years ago, 3-4 years ago, there was a wide belief among NFL general managers. If you polled all 32 NFL GMs and you asked them, given Tom, if you had 2 choices, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, they gave you a choice to start the franchise with one of those 2 guys, who would you choose? Look at articles back about 3-4 years ago and further beyond that. Most GMs would have chosen Aaron Rodgers. Why? Because his talent is certainly far more obvious than Tom. I've always said about Aaron, he's the greatest thrower of the football I've ever seen. He makes it look literally effortless. moves in the pocket well, can make plays outside the pocket, occasionally can run a little bit, right? He's got a massive arm. He's deadly accurate, high football IQ. He's got multiple MVPs. Now he's got more MVPs than Tom. Most people would have chosen Aaron Rodgers. But funny thing is, Tom was winning all the Super Bowls. And again, the belief at that time by many in the media, I would say majority, but many in the media, well, it's because Tom's in a better system than Aaron Rodgers in New England, right? Because he's got Belichick, he's got the great defense, he's got the system, and he's getting to the Super Bowl every year and winning most of the time. Aaron Rodgers, the defenses aren't great and doesn't have much of a running game. It was always some sort of excuse. Well, we're once again seeing why Tom's got the Super Bowls and Aaron has uno Super Bowl titles. So Aaron Rodgers was talking to the media yesterday, or a couple days ago. And he was talking about, sort of the dynamic between the Packers receivers and Aaron Rodgers. And it is truly comical how little self-awareness that this guy has when it comes to being the quarterback of an NFL franchise. Okay. So we know the Packers receiving corps isn't very good. As I've said, if Allen Lazard is your number one receiver, and if he is followed by Sammy Watkins and Randall Cobb, you're in some trouble. Because that doesn't win in today's NFL. But Aaron Rodgers voiced that publicly. He said after practice, quote, "The young guys, especially young receivers, we've got to be way more consistent. A lot of drops, a lot of bad route decisions, running the wrong route. We've got to get better in that area." He went on to say, quote, "It's coming up." Talk about the regular season. Yeah, it's coming up. It really is. We're going to play our best guys when the season starts, and whoever those guys are, these guys are going to get the reps. It's the guys that I trust the most and the guys the coaches trust the most. A lot of it is just the simple responsibility in the offense. Way before body positioning and movement and throw and all of that stuff. Are you in the right spot at the right time? Are you running the right route? So here's the thing. If Aaron Rodgers said this behind closed doors, I'd have absolutely no issues whatsoever. Because if you had a bad practice, if the receivers had a bad practice, okay, you go in the receiving room, whether it's the team meeting, offensive team meeting, you talk with the receivers, you work things out. You could go out and have them run the routes, get them ready for the season. There's a quarterback you guys know I'm a massive fan of, who also has a lot of questions in his receiving unit. And this quarterback that I'm discussing, because of all the questions about his receiving corps, all offseason long, and you see it all over social media, he's working out with them. Went to the University of Miami, worked out at the practice facility, even worked out. He has a football field, a 50-yard football field at his own house, just so he can work with the receivers. This said quarterback said, when questioned about his receiving group, said, quote, "You're never going to catch me looking at anything in my life as a step back. You've got an opportunity to move forward. You've got an opportunity to grow. If you don't do that, you're in trouble, and you've already lost to begin with. I just know the young guys that we've got, the guys that we already have, are going to step in and take on bigger roles. I continue to say exciting, but that's what it is. And the reason is because I feel like a lot of people don't know necessarily what these guys are, what these guys can do." That quarterback is Dak Prescott. Dallas has all kinds of questions about their receiving corps. Even about their best receiver, who's better than anybody Green Bay has, CeeDee Lamb. People are questioning, including myself, can he be a true number one receiver? Can he take that next step into being that guy? Can he consistently beat man-to-man coverage on the outside? Can he beat zone coverage? Right? Does he have that rapport with his quarterback that you need to have between a franchise quarterback and a number one receiver? Everybody on down from there, it's big question marks. You've got a rookie Jalen Tolbert. You've got James Washington, who never panned out in Pittsburgh. You've got Michael Gallup coming off of an ACL tear. You've got Noah Brown, who's mostly been a blocking receiver his whole career. Now he's going to have to step into a bigger role. And Dak was constantly working with them all offseason. Aaron Rodgers, with all the questions in his receiving group, was taking shots at the franchise, was, doing weird podcast interviews on Barstool and the Pat McAfee show. He's going out in the forest and having spiritual experiences with psychedelic drugs. That, my friends, is why Rodgers has 1 Super Bowl and Tom has 7. Every year. And it got on receivers' nerves. Every year, these young kids would go up to Tom Brady first practice of the year, whether it was like OTAs or training camp. Tom would stick out his hand. Hi, I'm Tom Brady. It's like, yeah, buddy. Yeah, and it gets cold in Foxborough in the winter. Yeah, we know you're Tom Brady. But he was constantly making guys work. Extra reps after practice, building a rapport with them. Tom was known to chew out guys in meeting rooms and in, even on the sideline during games. He never did it to the media. He never criticized, say like a guy like Julian Edelman or a Danny Amendola or like a Malcolm Mitchell or Mohamed Sanu. Some of these guys, very limited receivers. Never criticized them to the media publicly. What Aaron is doing, he is a brilliant, I've heard one call him a master media manipulator, MMM, master media manipulator. He is already putting the bug out there saying, hey, if things go south, it's not me. Just making sure y'all know. We already knew the Packers had a limited receiving group. Absolutely. As I detailed earlier, it's not very good. Just lost Davante Adams. And speaking of Davante Adams, I'm not sure how many people have paid attention to this. Davante Adams could have made more money in Green Bay. Significantly more money in Green Bay. But he went to Vegas and took a pay cut to play with the Raiders. Think about this. Davante Adams could have stayed in Green Bay, where he would have made more money with a better quarterback in an easier division in a weaker conference. He instead decided to go to Vegas to take less money with a great quarterback, but he's not Aaron Rodgers. Love Derek Carr, but he's not Aaron Rodgers. In a, not just a tough division, probably the best division in years, the AFC West, in a loaded conference. Why did Davante Adams choose to do that? He himself said, talking to NBC before the Raiders Hall of Fame game against the Jacksonville Jaguars, he himself was talking to them and said, the way Aaron was talking the offseason, I didn't know whether or not that he would retire any second and I'd be stuck in Green Bay. I wanted stability. And he didn't say this publicly, but Aaron Rodgers isn't exactly the model of stability. Every offseason, woe is me, again, taking shots at the franchise. I may retire. I may not retire. I don't need football. He said all of these things. Davante's like, man, screw this. Yeah, I can make more money here, but I want to win. I want to have a quarterback who's committed to the game more than this guy. And so he chose Derek Carr and the Las Vegas Raiders. This is the reality of Aaron Rodgers. This is why the Packers are not going to make the playoffs. You're going to see a lot of these games where the receiving group, isn't great. It's incredibly limited, and it will show on tape, on the field, most every Sunday. And Aaron will go to the media, go to the podium, take shots at his guys, whether it be Alan Lazard. He probably won't take shots at Randall Cobb. That's his boy. But he'll take shots at Sammy Watkins, Amari Rodgers, because that's who he is. That's what he's always done. Last thing before we move on. Greg Jennings, who works for Fox Sports now, he once told a story that in opening day of the 2013 season, the Packers were playing a home game against the San Francisco 49ers. And in the first half of that game, Greg Jennings, who was a very good receiver, like not like a pro, like a Hall of Fame level guy, but a very, very good receiver. Greg Jennings wasn't getting a whole lot of targets. Rodgers wasn't throwing the ball much. And I think he said it was either during a timeout or during the 2-minute warning. Greg Jennings is just kind of standing there, and the defensive back, the guy who's been going against him one-on-one, forgot the guy's name for the 49ers, but he went up to Greg Jennings. He said, "Man, they ain't throwing you the ball, are they?" And Greg Jennings was like, it's fine, it happens, it's football. And Aaron Rodgers went over there and said something along the lines of, basically, yeah, y'all can have him. He said that to the Niners defensive back. And Greg Jennings was gone pretty quickly after that. It's no wonder this guy, with the ridiculous talent he has, greatest throw of the football I've ever seen, has won Super Bowl. That's the reality. And that's how it is. More on this Deshaun Watson situation. Let's see. Schefter's come out with statements from Deshaun and the Haslam family. I'll start with Deshaun Watson. Statement from Deshaun Watson. He said, quote, "I'm grateful that the disciplinary process has ended and extremely appreciative of the tremendous support I have received throughout my short time with the Browns organization. I apologize once again for any pain this situation has caused. I take accountability for the decisions I made. My focus going forward is on working to become the best version of myself on and off the field and supporting my teammates however possible while I'm away from the team. I'm excited about what the future holds for me in Cleveland." Jimmy and Dee Haslam, the Haslam family, put out a statement saying, quote, "As we have previously conveyed, Deshaun and his representatives have abided by the NFL and NFLPA structure awaiting a final decision, and we have respected the process. Now that a decision on discipline has been reached, we understand this is a real opportunity to create meaningful change, and we are committed to investing in programs in Northeast Ohio that will educate our youth regarding awareness, understanding, and most importantly, prevention of sexual misconduct and the many underlying causes of such behavior. Since Deshaun entered our building, he has been an outstanding member of our organization and shown a true dedication to working on himself both on and off the field. We will continue to support him as he focuses on earning the trust of our community." So, first of all, yeah, obviously Deshaun and the Haslam family are, I'm sure, thrilled by this ruling. The fact that he will not get the season. Again, like I said, Deshaun for the last year has said that the goal is to clear his name, and he has settled with all but I think one of the women who have accused him of sexual misconduct, sexual assault. He has settled with all of them. He is last week with Josina Anderson, who's been reporting all over this Deshaun Watson situation. In an interview, actually, it wasn't with Josina, it was with another reporter. I forgot who it was, but he apologized to the women. So all this clearing your name stuff, I'm just saying. But again, Deshaun Watson will get 11 games. Not 6, but also not the season, and fined $5 million. So, yeah, of course, reading that statement, yeah, of course, the Haslam family and Deshaun Watson, I'm sure, are absolutely ecstatic about this because this means that he will play this season. Okay. So, just briefly touched on about as horrible leader as we have at the quarterback position in the NFL and Aaron Rodgers, going to a dysfunctional franchise in Cleveland. You mix the two together, you have Baker Mayfield. And we'll talk about Baker. So, according to Jeff Howe, he has reported that Baker Mayfield is expected to be named the Panthers starting quarterback for Week 1. So, if this report remains true, Baker Mayfield will start Week 1. Ironically, again, Deshaun is going to play his first game after this 11-game suspension against the Houston Texans. Baker is going to play Week 1 against his former team, the Cleveland Browns. Now, if this game is in Cleveland, man, you want to talk about entertainment, but it is in Charlotte, so we'll see what happens, how that one plays out. But Baker is the Week 1 guy for the Panthers. So it looks like he's beating out Sam Darnold. Again, the number 1 pick, Baker Mayfield, and the number 3 pick, Sam Darnold, both from 2018, both on the same team, and both competing for the starting quarterback job in Carolina. This goes, I said that I thought Sam Darnold would start, but about 2-3 games in, I thought Baker would replace him. And at that point, every 5 games or so, they'd sort of just go back and forth after each would stink up the joint in Carolina. But I will say this about Baker Mayfield, and it goes back to what I said about Matt Rule, the head coach. This is his 3rd year. Okay, and I love the hire of Matt Rule. It has not panned out the way I thought it would these first 2 years. This is it for him. It goes back to sort of the Bill Parcells rule about quarterbacks is if you're not sure by year 3 if they're that guy or not, you move on. I would say the same thing applies to coaches because, if you've had 2 losing seasons your first 2 years, you haven't even come close to making the playoffs, you haven't seen any significant growth from the team in that time frame, you better show me something in year 3 or you're out the door. So my guess is that Matt Rule will not last this season, but he is going with Baker Mayfield because he believes Baker Mayfield gives him the best shot to win games and ultimately for him to keep his job. The thing that I will say about the Panthers and about their quarterback situation, whether it was going to be Baker or Darnold, that I've said over and over and over, and I'll say it again, in the vast majority of their games that the Browns are going to play in, they absolutely, unequivocally have the inferior quarterback, whether it was going to be Baker or Darnold. And Baker, in my opinion, is absolutely better than Sam Darnold. He has shown me as such. But when you look at the first bit of their season, okay? So again, he starts against his former team, week 1. Panthers host the Browns. Okay, so it'll be Jacoby Brissett versus Baker Mayfield. Coin flip. They feel like the same guy. I would take Brissett just because of maturity, decision-making. And again, you don't get the big mistake out of Jacoby Brissett that you tend to get with Baker Mayfield. They go to play the Giants in week 2. Daniel Jones, I'd absolutely take Baker Mayfield over Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is a bigger bust than Baker has been. Okay, then they play the Saints. I'm taking Jameis Winston all day, any day over Baker. They play the Cardinals. Obviously, you're taking Kyler Murray over Baker Mayfield. They play the Niners. I don't care if he hasn't started but 3 games. You'll know how I feel about Trey Lance. I am taking Trey Lance any day, any night over Baker Mayfield. Then the Panthers play the Rams. Obviously, Stafford's better than Baker. They play the Bucs. Duh, it's the greatest quarterback of all time. He's better than Baker. They play Atlanta, whether it's Marcus Mariota or whether it's that kid from Cincinnati that they just drafted. I'm forgetting Desmond Ridder. Whether it's one of those 2, I'm taking Baker over both. But then they play Cincinnati. Burrow's better. They play the Falcons again. Well, depends on who their quarterback is, but I'd take Baker over both. Then the Panthers play the Ravens. Of course, you're taking Lamar Jackson over Baker Mayfield. They play Denver. Of course, you're taking Russ over Baker Mayfield. They play Seattle. I'd take Baker over Drew Lock or Geno Smith, but it's not huge, that much of a gap. Okay, they play Pittsburgh. From what I'm hearing, Kenny Pickett's looking pretty good. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, it's a coin flip. Let's just say Baker has a good afternoon and outplays Kenny Pickett. Okay. They play Detroit. Jared Goff has been to a Super Bowl. Okay. And for those of you that say, well, look at Jared Goff in Detroit now. And I was never a big Jared Goff fan, even coming out of college. But Goff had the perfect system in LA. Baker had the perfect system in Cleveland. Baker has 1 playoff win. Goff has 5. 4, right? Yeah, 4 playoff wins? Shoot, I'm blanking. 3. Well, he went to the Super Bowl. That's what we do know. Point is, Goff is better than Baker in my view. Then Carolina plays Tampa. Obviously, Brady's better, and they play the Saints at the end. I think Jameis Winston is better. So if they get lucky, 5 out of the 17 games, the Panthers, maybe 5 out of the 17 games, the Panthers have the better quarterback. Maybe. That's not a playoff team. Even in a weak NFC, you look at the NFC, okay, and it's obviously it's not as loaded as the AFC. Okay, I think we all agree the only 2 like locks, no question about it, don't even need to talk about it. The 2 locks to get in the playoffs are the defending champion LA Rams and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, in part because the Buccaneers play in my view, the worst division in football. Tampa will win that division going away. So that's 2 playoff spots. NFC East, pick your team. Dallas, Philadelphia. I'm taking Dallas just because of Dak. But if you want to take Philly, I'm not going to fight you on that. They got a better football team. So you got to have an NFC East champ. And then you look at the NFC North, I'm definitely taking Minnesota over Green Bay. So you got Minnesota in. So that's 4 playoff teams, 3 wild card spots left. Okay, so now you're talking about either second place in the NFC East, whether it be Dallas or Philly. I think 2 teams in the East get in. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, Dallas wins the division, but Philly gets in the playoffs as a wild card team. 2 spots left. So now you're talking about, at this point, the Saints, who I like this year, Arizona, and San Francisco. I love Trey Lance. I'm putting the 49ers in. So at this point, now you're talking Saints, Cardinals. Saints have an excellent defense and a really good young receiving core, and the Cardinals have Kyler Murray and a multitude of weapons. You're telling me Carolina's going to beat those 2 teams out? No. Carolina's got talent. Question is whether Christian McCaffrey can stop getting in a bunch of fights at training camp and stay healthy. And then defensively, they got talent, guys like Shaq Thompson, but they're not horribly deep. The offensive line isn't great. You thought last year was a disaster in Cleveland for Baker. You wait till this year in Cleveland. It is going to be disaster beyond disaster. So this is not going to work. Baker's going to be a free agent next year. He'll back up somebody in 2023. Matt Rule will lose his job, I believe, at some point this season, although, of course, nobody is rooting for that, for anyone to lose their job. But I think that's the harsh reality. I think that's what's going to happen. And that's what's going to be for the Carolina Panthers. This is not in any. I've heard a bunch of Baker defenders today talk about, he could get them the wild card game. Stop it. It's not even. Man, he had a top 3 offensive line in Cleveland. Excellent weapons, a great defense led by a top 3 defensive player in Myles Garrett. Like, this isn't even discussion. Panthers are not a playoff team with Darnold or with Baker. Baker doesn't take them any further than Sam Darnold does. It's not a good football team. So in maybe 5 of the 17 games, the Panthers are the better quarterback. To me, you can't be a playoff team unless you either have the perfect system around you. I mean, perfect. Coaching, offense, defense, or you have the better quarterback in 8 or 9 of your games. If you do, you got a chance to win. If you have an elite quarterback, even if he's not the best quarterback on the field that day, you have a chance to win every game you play. The Panthers don't exactly have an elite quarterback. I think even Baker defenders, we can come to that conclusion. Baker is not an elite guy. So that's where we're at with the Carolina Panthers. So it looks like Baker's going to start week 1, according to Jeff Howe. And I think it's going to be an absolute train wreck of a season for Baker and for Carolina. And it's not going to work. All right, last topic of the day. Oh boy, AB. He won't go away. Antonio Brown, as he does, had a lot to say on, as I heard one call it the other day, the Angry Bird app called Twitter. And he was talking about Tom Brady. Tom Brady, we talked about in the show last week how he's taken about 2 weeks off, spend time with family. Again, it doesn't look like it involves any medical emergency with his family, with his parents, so that's great. But it looks like Tom's just taking some time off with family. And Antonio Brown tweeted, quote, Tom Brady manipulate the game, gets 14 days, go home to get his mind right, LOL. Now you see the difference. Put that you-know-what on. So he's basically, AB is saying that Tom Brady can do it, but he can't. It's like, well, first of all, yeah, Tom Brady can and you can't, because he's accomplished more than any player that's ever played the game, and you have been nothing but trouble since you entered the league. And it's hilarious to me that AB is attacking, of all people, Tom. AB, Tom is the only reason that you even played the last 2 years. He's the only reason you ended up in New England for what only ended up being 1 game. Because in Vegas, we know all the issues with the frostbite and calling his GM what he called him and this, that, the other. Nothing but chaos until finally John Gruden and the Raiders franchise like, man, we can't deal with this dude anymore. And they released him. Matter of fact, if AB had started that season, he would have had $20 million guaranteed in his pocket, but he couldn't keep his mouth shut. He couldn't stop being a troublemaker. And so he literally blew $20 million. He ends up in New England. Causes more trouble there. You've got the stuff with the truck driver who he attacked, with numerous women who accused him of inappropriate behavior and sexual assault. And so the Patriots released him. after Tom Brady, by the way, kind of forced Bob Kraft's hand to sign AB. AB lived in Tom Brady's house in Tampa. Tampa was fine. They were, what were they, 7-2, I think, at one point? They were rolling on their way to winning the Super Bowl that season. And Tom Brady said, he convinced Bruce Arians, he convinced the Tampa Bay Buccaneers brass, let's bring him in. He'll make us better. And that season, he did. He did make them better. And AB was that season on his best behavior. And then last year, we know what happened. You start out with the fake vaccination card that got him a 3-game suspension. And then everybody remembers the entire situation in New Jersey at MetLife Stadium, leaving the field, his pads, his pads taken off and all that play from there. Here's the video for the podcast audience. You see AB over there. Mike Evans trying to calm him down. AB's not hearing any of it. And again, Mike Evans is the most relaxed dude in the world. So if Mike Evans gives up on you, then that tells me all I need to know. So as you see AB, do AB things right there, throw his jersey. Now he's going to start throwing his undershirt and his towel, his gloves, and throw up the deuces to the fans as he leaves off the field. And something about Antonio Brown too that I always thought was hilarious. He's got 2 different excuses. Okay, the first excuse was that he wasn't getting the ball much in that game against the Jets that he ran off the field, gave the deuces to the Jets fans. Okay, he didn't get the ball much, right? Tom was going to Gronk. He said, you ain't getting me the ball. And so he goes off and pouts on the sideline. Antonio Brown needed, I think, 13 catches and a couple touchdowns to meet his incentives. We know about Tom Brady. Look at every week 17 or week 18 game that man's ever played. He gets their guys their incentives if they're within reach. He's going to make sure that the guys get their money. He was going to make sure AB would have gotten his money. AB's on the sideline, okay, and Bruce Arians asked him to go in. AB said, nah, my ankle hurting. And all the AB defenders who are just the worst. AB defenders are insufferable. But they said that, Bruce Arians was trying to force AB into the game. I thought AB wanted to meet his incentives. So it's always something. By the way, if you hadn't gotten a fake vaccination card and gotten a 3-game suspension, you probably would have met your incentives before then, but you didn't because you're trouble. I read the other day that he was saying, Jerry Jones, call me. This guy, man, I've always said there's guys with egos, there's guys who are arrogant, there's guys who are narcissists, and then there's guys who think they're God. That man, he's worse than T.O. He's way worse than T.O. That guy literally thinks he's God. Just by the things he said, and he actually literally compared himself to Jesus Christ last week. He thinks he is above any and everybody, and the rules simply don't apply to him. Okay. So, move on from Antonio Brown till the end of the show. That is all the time we have for today's show. I appreciate everybody stopping by as always. Be sure to catch Carving Up Live tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern at 3 p.m. Pacific time on Facebook Live, YouTube, and on Twitter. Again, some breaking news on the show today. Deshaun Watson will get an 11-game suspension, not a 6-game suspension, and a $5 million fine after a compromise between the NFL and the Players Association. I'll have some more reaction on that tomorrow. So we'll see how this situation continues to play out. But again, hope everybody has a great evening. Also, real quick, 100 subscribers. Thank you so much to everybody who's hit that big red subscribe button. Please, to anyone who has not done it, hit it. Help the channel grow exponentially. Like, share, comment as well. So have a great evening, everybody. See y'all tomorrow. Stay safe out there. God bless you all. Peace out. Man, AB just won't go away, man. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube. Be sure to click that big red subscribe button and go check out the other clips and full shows of Carving It Up Live. Have a blessed day.